Lots to go over. I'm going to try and keep it quick though, because I'm off on a holiday in a bit and I've not packed. So let's get this over and done with. Quick edit this week. Okay. As we like it always. Minimal edit. I mean, do we start with the crash or do we start with the start procedure bullshit? Let's start with the start procedure stuff, even though it's left kind of moot for Marc anyway with the crash. But let's go over it because I'm trying all morning here to sort of understand what's going on, what is supposed to be procedure, and what actually happened. I found this clip. I've come across this clip. MotoGP. It's on the socials. I might just put it on here. I might get in trouble for it from MotoGP, but we'll play it anyway, and you can have a listen and make up your own mind. Let's start with that. All right, so as you can see there, all planned by Marc when he realised he was on the wrong tyre. One of the other bikes set up for dry. And then the way the ruling works with like the 3-minute board and things like that is in that 3-minute period, you are permitted to change tyres. As I understand it, change bikes, get the current bike that you're on off the grid. You're allowed to just remove that bike, start the warm-up lap from pit lane, and then come back. And what Marc thought was you'd just start at the back, a bit like that Argentina thing that year, whatever. But since then, I think, as you can see, Mike Webb has explained there, you actually would start from your normal position and then take a ride-through penalty. I guess the confusing thing for me here is the only thing that I don't understand is why we went into a quick start procedure. And I get that the thing was there was so much chaos, so many guys running off the grid. And I think a big part of it was Vinales went late. At the last second, Maverick was like trying to get off the grid when it looked like they were probably just going to release them for the warm-up lap because the guys were already in the pit lane on the spare bikes, going to wait at the end of pit lane, basically. I think that late move, then they just sort of panicked and went, just quick start, just abandon the start, basically. When I do think maybe, could they not have just held them? I guess it's just like, hold them, and then there's got to be a point where, like, once you hit that point, there's no more running off the grid. Like, you're just disqualified if you do that. Maybe Mav was just on time. I don't know. But that's the bit I don't understand. Like, why are they... why did they go into that procedure? I've heard a few mumblings about early on about if 10 guys, if 10 specifically or more leave the grid, then it's a restart or a quick start procedure. You abandon the start. I don't know if that's right or not, or if that's because I heard that on Sunday evening, and then I've not heard it again since today. It's currently Tuesday when I'm recording this. I've not heard that again since I've been researching a bit more this morning. So I don't know how true that is. So maybe that's why they did it. I haven't seen anything since then written in the rules or the laws or whatever I've watched in terms of been trying to get onto different podcasts and see what people are saying. People are a bit more in the know than I am. But generally, I don't know if that's right or not, or if Race Directions kind of shit the bed. Like, I don't know. So I don't know why they can't just be like, all right, that guy's running off the grid. Quick, get his bike off. Everyone just wait a minute. Wait another 25 seconds while we get this bike off the grid. And now we're going into race start procedure. And then why, in the end, if we do go into a restart procedure where these guys have delayed the start, if the quick start procedure is triggered after an abandoned start, why do they escape punishment? Is, I guess, the other thing. Because they would have got punished had we not had the quick start procedure, which doesn't delay the start. So if we just had the normal, say, Marc had left the grid, no one else left, for example, leaves the grid, swaps bikes, comes to the end of pit lane, they go on the warm-up lap, he takes his place on first on the grid, and then has to serve a ride through during the race because he's changed bike after the 3-minute board's gone up, right? Which is different to what I understand him and his engineers' understanding of the situation were. Sorry if this is going to be confusing, but it's a confusing situation. So how come if the race director goes, right, this is too much chaos, there's too many guys running about, it's dangerous now, which I guess is a perfectly reasonable response. So let's go into, everyone go back to the pit lane, we're doing a quick start procedure, we're going to go siding lap into one engineer on the grid, warm-up lap and race start, quick start procedure at 2:10 or whatever time it was local. So if we've gone into that, why then do they escape punishment? That's the bit I don't understand. Not that I really care either way, but it obviously does disadvantage the guys who made the right decision in the first place. Whether or not you think they should get an advantage for just making the right decision in the first place, I mean, I think they probably should. They've taken the risk on a wet circuit putting dry tyres on. Should they be rewarded for that? I guess so. But anyways, by the by, race direction has decided because you go into a quick start procedure, there's no punishment to be served. Even though technically you have broken the exact same rule either way. So whether it was only 3 riders left the grid and it was very calm and the bikes got moved off the grid and then they were able to start the warm-up lap as normal, that is less of a disruption than what actually happened. So I don't know if it's because if so many people are doing it, then it's just like, well, it shouldn't have been an advantage. Like too many guys are on the wrong tire, so it's like you want to let everyone swap. I don't know. But if you're Brad Binder, I think it was Bastianini and Agura, I think were all on slicks. And then the guys who decided not to leave the grid who were still on wets, they would have been making the wrong choice anyway. But for those guys, 3 guys in particular, I know Davide Bruvio was furious, and I'd imagine the KTM guys would be furious as well. You know, they never got that advantage back. I don't know why the main thing for me is, you know, the rules are the rules. A lot of people say Marc's played a blinder, probably has. But in my understanding, he's actually interpreted, and his team have interpreted the rules incorrectly. Because they thought he wouldn't be punished. He would just have to start from the back. In which case he's like, I'll win this from there. Especially if he's right and he bolts off the grid and 8 other guys follow him. He's like, well, all my competitors, Pecco and all that, are starting with me at the back anyway. So I'm only catching guys that I know I'm quicker than. I'm either catching 3 guys that I know I'm quicker than in Agura, Binder, and Bastianini. And then the rest of them, if they don't come with me, they're on wet tyres anyway, so I'm going to catch them anyway. So I get that in that instance, he has played a blinder, and he's played the rules well. Now, it turns out that was wrong. He would have had to have served a drive-through or a ride-through. So yeah, I don't know, because there is a distinct ruling I've seen here as well that states. So basically, it's a clip from the regulations, the FIM regulations. All adjustments must be completed by the display of the 3-minute board. After this board is displayed, riders who wish to make adjustments must push their machine into pit lane. Such riders and their machines must be clear of the grid and in the pit lane before the display of the 1-minute board, which is what he was trying to do. Once the 3-minute board went up, he was like, let's go. Get this bike off the grid. I'm going to grab the other bike and join the warm-up lap from the pit lane. Such riders will start the warm-up lap from the pit lane and will start the race from the back of the grid, provided that in the MotoGP class only, weather-related tyre changes are not made. So if you make adjustments on anything other than tyres, you would... This is where they got it wrong. If you made adjustments on anything other than tyres, you would start from your back of the grid with no punishment. If you change tyres, then you start from your normal grid position and serve a ride through penalty within the first 3 laps of the race. So they have interpreted that wrong, in which Marc Webb cleared up in that little clip we showed earlier. I don't understand why, and I'll reiterate this, if there would be a punishment that doesn't delay the start. Because there's another ruling as well that I've read, and I don't have a clip of that. I'll try and find it. Another actual thing that says if you delay the race start, you will be punished. So how come all the guys that went into the pit lane didn't get punished for delaying the race start? That's another separate regulation. I'm very confused. People can clear this up for me, because that would also mean that maybe Pecco doesn't win that race because he went back. I want to say, who else went? Did Alex Marquez went? Jack Miller went. What was it? 10 of them, I think it was exactly 10 that went. And it was all guys near the front as well. So that opens it up for a potential race win for some of the guys that were coming in just behind or that who stayed on the grid. I'd be asking questions. I would be asking questions. So even though they did, maybe it is a regulation where you have to abort the start if more than 10 guys go. That's fine. Why do they not get punished then? How is that not then worse from the swap from just swapping bikes to get on the slick tires and not delaying the start? That's what I don't understand. I might be going over and over in circles here, but can someone explain that part to me? That's all I want to know. Okay, let's talk about the racing. The sprint was fantastic. Loved it, especially the early laps I did. Pecco doing exactly what he needs to do, because when you're not quicker than someone, you've got to really just, can you just bring them to your level, basically? Which is what he tried to do. He couldn't do it in the end, and he couldn't even keep up with Alex in the end in the sprint. But it was a good race. Had a lot of action, a lot going on. It was great. Now, big talking point is Sunday. Obviously, we've gone over the start, and like I said, it's Marc served no justice, and I guess the others that left the grid as well, for the delayed start. It didn't matter anyway, because he wouldn't have, he didn't finish the race either way. So the crash itself, very avoidable, and we see this with Marc all the time, really. For a great champion, it is these sort of, it's just a strange mistake. And I get that, these guys are always pushing, so it's not like, oh, why didn't he just ease off? He's well ahead. Well, you've kind of, the reason he has that gap and he's maintaining that gap is because he's having to ride to a very high level to maintain the gap, because the guys behind him aren't necessarily slow. So I get that you're kind of always pushing to a degree, but when you do, like that sequence of corners there, once you get one of them wrong, the ones that follow, you're kind of out of sequence, you're offline, you've kind of got to take your medicine, or you take a risk to try and maintain the speed, even though you ran wide on the left-hander in that instance. So you're like, I need to keep pushing. I maybe need to take more curb on the right-hand side so that I don't lose too much momentum, or I try and pull it up a bit more, keep it off the curb, and lose 3-4 tenths in one corner, by trying to pull it up and then get it back online, and then I'm probably going to run wide again through the next one that leads into the left-hander. You may be losing up to half a second through the sector by doing that. Now, could you argue that you're 2 and a bit seconds ahead, just lose the half second and rebuild? Yes, that would be the sensible thing to do. What most guys do in that situation is maybe sometimes you get that wrong over the weekend and you try and chase it and you get away with it. That probably also is something that happens a lot to these guys through that section over the weekend. They get the first one of the corners wrong, which leads into maybe 2 or 3 more corners on the switchbacks. And they maybe push the envelope a little bit, maybe look, to gain that time back, I'm just going to cut over this curb. And they probably get away with it a lot as well, especially when it's dry. But where you lose out here is you are going onto a wet curb, and it does punish you, and it punished him in the biggest possible way, to the point where he couldn't even rejoin properly because he had lost a foot peg, and his screen was gone as well, which is not comfortable. But yeah, that's it. Great results through the field. Alex Marquez, you've got to be a bit disappointed. Like, how unlucky is this? You come second every week because Marc is finishing ahead of you every single race, 5 in a row. And the one where Marc doesn't finish ahead of you, you've been beaten by Pecco. So a Grand Prix win's gone begging a little bit for Alex, but a credit to Pecco because he's had to turn his weekend around again. Now, this is the kind of thing where he did consistently last season, where he wins so many Grand Prix, is because even when he struggles to get into a weekend, not that it was necessarily that slow this weekend, but it was a typical Pecco weekend that you would normally see. Starts slow, builds up, he's there or thereabouts for a podium in the sprint, and then come Sunday, he's at his peak, right? Now, it wasn't quick enough for him to win this weekend, which is kind of normal because it's COTA, and Marc is always going to be quicker than you, really, isn't he? If you do this at a circuit where he's stronger at, now we're going to Qatar, where we do think Pecco is a stronger circuit for him. So whether this Sunday form will bring him up to Marc's level come Sunday, with it not being... Marc doesn't have the greatest record at Qatar, I don't think. Probably won there a couple of times, but I mean, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But so let's say that this is the biggest acid test for Pecco, is like at a circuit where you're strong at, where he's like, it's just a normal circuit for him. Can you, by your Sunday pace, what he's done this weekend, get you that extra couple of seconds up the road on race day to be competing with Marc? This is going to be the test. So he's done that here. This is why he won so many Grand Prix last season, because Marc wasn't in that position. And this would mean a Sunday win for him against like Martin, for example, which is what happens here because Marc's crashed. Other notables, obviously we spoke about Alex. The VR46 boys are loving life, being the sort of next best on the Ducatis. So good result for them. Digi really promising to bring home a podium here with his still must be carrying maybe a little bit of soreness in there. I don't know, a discomfort, but good result for him. And I do want to say my new favorite rider is Digi because of this little moment he's had post-race in the interview.
What can I say? I'm just speechless, tired as fuck, honestly. I need like 100, 200 beers this night to recover.
Now, Dig, mate, now that we're best mates, because, you know, you are a man after my own heart, it turns out. If you need me to come and help you take on a handful of those 200 beers, mate, you just let me know. I'll meet you. I'll fly over to wherever you are and we'll get stuck in. What are you, a Peroni guy? You Peroni? I mean, imagine you like Peroni. I mean, who doesn't? Really? And you're Italian? You know? The Peroni Reds in the bottles, is that how many? Is it 200 of them? You're talking 200 pints. It's a lot of beer. You might need help, and I'm willing to take on some of the burden for you. Thanks, mate. Jack Miller, we're going to talk about him because we're going to talk the All Japan Cup in a minute. All I'm going to say is, does Yamaha approach him about the factory ride, or does he need to go to them? That's all I'm asking, you know. And then a lot of guys, I mean, Jack one of them, but a lot of guys benefiting from some DNFs. Bez, Bastianini, Marini, Agura, all at Quattro picking up top 10s just from a lot of guys crashed in front of him or didn't finish or whatever happened with Brad Binder as like a technical issue or whatever. But a lot of guys with a lot of pace did crash. Aldeguer, who was, telling you, looking at maybe fourth, probably would have caught Morbidelli. Marc, obviously, Mir was looking comfortable enough, looked strong enough. He probably would have been in that top 10 somewhere. And Pedro, same. Binder was probably going to finish ahead of Miller in fifth. And now maybe Aldeguer would have gone past him. Maybe that would have relegated him to sixth and Miller to seventh. But still don't really know what happened there. I haven't really looked into it. And I will just say quickly, on this one, it is a good one to win because you get like the cool trophy. This would be a great one where at the end of your career, you look back and go, I'm glad I got that trophy on my shelf. I'm glad I got that trophy on my shelf because it is really a standout. And Texas, always wanted to go to this one. Texas looks awesome. Austin looks awesome. The guys look like they have a great time there. Like it's all part of the atmosphere, getting amongst it, getting the cowboy shit on and, you know, I don't know, maybe going shooting a gun or something. It just looks awesome. Looks fun. Just like a fun time. I'd love to go to this one. And the guys, credit to them, take full advantage of it. Wind it up. It's the All Japan Cup. Jack Miller's your winner. Jack Miller is your winner of the All Japan Cup. So great result for Jack. He was very good. Marini's finished second. So the consistency of Luca Marini. This is where you got a guy who's definitely not going to be in that team again next season because they'll want to move. I think they'll go hard after Pedro. I think they have to. I know he's under contract, but like, come on. I know that doesn't mean shit. And there's some rumors about Toprak. I think like everybody wants to see Toprak in MotoGP. I think they would probably rather go after Pedro if they can get him. Not because I'm not saying anything about him being better than Toprak or anything. I just think that's for Honda as a manufacturer, the way they've gone in the past, they like bringing in these like gun Spaniards. I think they'll throw good money at Pedro Acosta before they go after Toprak, I think, personally. So whilst Marini looks like he could be on the outs of the factory team at least, I think because you're never going to dump your world champion, Mir, and I know you're splitting hairs between those two at current ability, I think. Mir does maybe look a touch quicker at times, between the two of them so far. But I think Marini's doing a standout, like an absolutely brilliant job. Absolutely brilliant job. In fact, he's 10 points ahead of Mir in the championship at the moment because of Mir's can't stop crashing still. So Marini's gone second in that one. And then it was Quartararo, Rins, Augusto Fernandez on the sub ride. They thought he had a good weekend? I think he did a really good job. I think he did a really good job. Similar to like when Remy came in last season. I think he's done a good job. Chantra's picked up his first point in the All Japan Cup. And I want to talk about Chantra because I don't know if something happened to him during the race because you don't really know what's happening at the back. But all I saw of him was when Marc went past, he passed Marc as Marc was coming into the pits. That struck me because Marc had battled with Lorenzo Savadori way before that and dropped well away. And when you look back at the results, he's finished 17 seconds behind Savadori there, Chantra. That's not very good. That's not good enough. Maybe he might have made a mistake somewhere and ran really wide and lost 15 seconds. Otherwise, he would have been battling with Savadori or maybe he had a problem. I don't know. But if none of that is true, what the fuck? Cannot be finishing 17 seconds behind Savadori. If somebody can jump in the comments and tell me if something happened there so they can cut him some slack, please do. But like, honestly, what is he doing that far back? Absolute nonsense that. And he's actually been doing slightly maybe better than I thought he would do. He's been okay at times, like okay. Still the worst of the Japanese bikes. But this is terrible if this is just him being slow. Please let me know if you're able to keep track of him during the race or if they said anything that I missed because that is shocking. You can't be getting beaten by Savadori, let alone by 17 seconds. So let me know. But he has got a point now in the All Japan Cup. So let's go to the standings. Johan Zarco DNF'd this one, but still remains top of the All Japan Cup, the honorary Japanese man himself, on 20 points. Jack Miller closes big time to 18 points. He's only 2 points behind now. Is an All Japan Cup championship win on the cards for Jack? Possibly, if he can keep this up. Marini, 14 points in third. Fabio, 7 points. Rins, 7 points. Mir, 6 points. Oliveira, 3 points. Augusto Fernandez, 2 points. He's ahead of Somkir Chantra on 1 point. So we'll have also on the screen here the Constructors' Championship. It's funny how this is swinging because for all money, you'd be like Honda's looking the stronger of the two. And I think on the bike performance, I think they probably still are. But result here for Jack means that they all of a sudden have the best result of the two manufacturers this season. So, yeah, great. Great stuff. That's your All Japan Cup for this week. Jack Miller has entered the chat, as it were. Fantasy. Quick one. Now, this is probably done not just me in, but many people, where you've held off on the classic move. You've held off on the boost. You thought, well, Marc's going to win this one, so I'll finally use my boost. And we've wasted it. We've wasted it, everyone. So, joke's on us. Thanks, Marc. Joke is on us. All the guys that use the boost first couple of rounds, I'm assuming you use that again now. So, maybe we will get these. We didn't necessarily lose the points if we can use our boost correctly later on in the season. But for now, it kind of hurts. It kind of hurts. And now, is anyone considering the switch back from maybe Alex as your gold rider, bring in a different team, and getting Pecco back in now that he looks like he's back in form? Let me know if you're planning any of that. Now, anyone carrying Aldeguer, he has dropped in price. But yeah, I'm going to put everything on the screen here. How many points did I get this week? 186 with a boost. It's not ideal. We really needed to maximize that boost because that's left me 31st in the standings. Let's have a look at the top 10. Now, it does look like everyone's used the boost on Marc this week. So maybe it's not a huge loss, but you've got to take advantage of the other two boosts now. That's the only thing. So a few guys with using their last boost on that one or their second boost already. Is this different from last week? I can't bloody remember. Let me know. Joseba Inaki, still first. Factory Ducati team. Kiss my ass and favorite of the channel. JJD80, Roller Acosta. I don't think we've had many changes in the top 10. Team Nolly. Is that a new one? Pedro Acosta Coffee. Are you guys new into the top 10? Let me know. I can't remember from bloody last week. That's how it looks for now. Thanks again, everyone, for playing. Let me know how you went this week. There's no one really got a mega score because of the Marc crash. Everyone was banking the boost for Marc. So yeah, let me know if you're planning on making the change if Pecco's looking good next race in practice and stuff. Are you thinking about maybe bringing him in for Alex and trying to work it so that you drop, maybe go for a different team and bring Pecco in and stuff like that? Let me know how you're planning it. Let's talk Moto2 and Moto3 procession this week. In both, it was a really strange Moto3 race, but let's talk Moto2 first because Jake Dicko Dixon is your championship leader, and not a small lead. Do we panic yet, everyone? Is Jake Dixon going to be the world champion? Now, I still don't think he's the quickest guy out there. I think Manu Gonzalez has him on. I actually tweeted this saying it's mad that Jake Dixon's going into Sunday having topped every session, qualified on pole, as maybe not the favourite, because Manu's lap got sort of interrupted in qualifying, although I do think he was on pace to take pole before he met traffic. And then had it just been a completely dry day, I think, not necessarily saying he would have beat Jake Dixon, but it certainly would have been a good battle, and I was really looking forward to it. And then the commotion on the start, they've gone on slicks, Senna as well. That team just put both guys on slicks on a wet track. When you're leading the World Championship, I just think just do the safe thing. It's an age-old thing in motor racing, isn't it? Where it's just like if you're the guy to beat and most of the field's doing this, just do what most of the field's doing. And if you get done in that day by a guy taking a risk at the back, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. If your main rivals are all on one thing and you're on the other, like even if you think it's the right thing to do and you're backing it to dry up, it's like just don't maybe take the risk with your other rider, still get a race win out of it, but don't send your title challenger into that situation because now they're 13 points behind. Like it's silly, it's just silly. It's good to see Tony Arbolino get a result. Alonso Lopez, both of them struggling a little bit this season, I guess. Izan Guevara got a bit of a result for himself, but this was just one guy taken off from the front and they all sort of just followed one by one. It wasn't a lot happening. I think there was a bit happening maybe in that group. Maybe there was a few overtakes from Guevara to Baltus. Colin Vire came up and got himself a decent result, taking advantage of the conditions. But I think on a pure dry day, it maybe could have been different. It's hard to say that when a guy's topped every session, won the race by about fucking 80 seconds. But it looked like Manu had pace. He had pace in his pocket after qualifying. So that was Moto2. And in Moto3, I mean, much the same. Rueda just took off at the front. Fantastic seeing Joel Kelso get on the podium. Fantastic result for him there. And good result for the Level Up team because they've got Patelli on the podium as well. We need to talk about Maximo. Maximo, the man that they signed when he was too young, so he's been waiting for his chance. He couldn't start the races until now because he was too young to get on the grid. And almost takes pole in a fairy tale start to his career, and then goes on to battle for the podium and end up 5th in that race. We get it, Spain. You can stop. I get it. You don't have to keep doing it. You can produce a world championship level top rider just at the drop of a hat whenever you want. I understand. You don't have to keep doing it. But there's another one. Along with Carpe coming in now, this lad's come in, Maximo. What a name, Maximo. Brilliant. I love it. And Rueda was a sensation. We actually have to mention that. But really, I mean, I need to wrap this up. I've been gone for too long. I'm hungry. I need to get this edited. So I'm not going to talk too much about Moto3 this week. Thanks for watching. We've got a couple of weeks now till COTA. It's going to be very, very interesting. We'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. Goodbye.